Let's check D Live first. Man, D Live always pops right away. D Live first. All right, D Live is good. Let's check Twitch. Man, D Live always pops right away. D Live first. Twitch is good. Let us check.
The porch.
Yeah, the porch. And D Live always. All right, YouTube is good. Let's see how Facebook's doing. The music will go down in volume here in a second, but
Be on Facebook. Hell yeah. We'll fuck shit up with them.
nice. I hope they don't mute me. Like they have this. I kind of like it. Instead of just completely D Live always threatening you for life, they just mute whatever they're suspicious about. It's both good and bad. So there's me watching Sloan. Yep.
I got banned off of Facebook going live a month before I ever went live.
Wow.
Figure that one out.
Let me check the sound levels. I'm way too loud on the background music, according to my science. Hopefully that's good. Let me check your levels.
Here.
Would you say something, Commander?
Yeah. I said the porch is badass.
Yeah, nice. All right, I think our levels are good. We have 3 minutes till live. Our cameras are not broadcasting, as you can probably tell. It's just two empty chairs on the porch right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how you got the... Have you figured out how to get all...
Sorry. Please say that again.
Have you figured out how to get all of your chats on one screen? Well, you're using one monitor too, aren't you?
Yeah. So...
Gee.
I have to go here for YouTube and D Live and Twitch to see the chats. And then I have to go here for Foxhole and here for Facebook.
I tried to figure out how I first started doing it. I got one of those Microsoft Surface. And that's how I started. And I tried to figure out how I was doing it. I can't figure out how I was doing it. It's a God thing, a God nod, I guess.
Right. You mentioned that in an earlier show. I think that was you. You fix it, but you don't remember how you fixed it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, isn't that the case?
Yep.
We used to have secretaries at the finance place, and it was like, at the beginning when we were switching from AS400s to web-based, they'd like, how do you do this? I can't figure it. And so I'd go down, I'd sit in their chair and do everything. And like, that's how you do it right there. Well, after about 50 of those, I said, sit down there and I'll guide you and you move the mouse and you do all the, they still didn't remember.
Right.
It just takes time and repetition.
One minute.
All right.
We're streaming, but we're just sitting on the porch.
Yeah. How about that? That's America there.
I enjoyed our New Jersey porch. It was screened in.
Oh. Yeah.
We would set up spooky live music with live musicians on Halloween.
Perfect. We got an area, West Akron is, they got a lot of those big old nice porches. I like the wraparound porch.
Oh, yeah. So you're hanging out, it's the afternoon, no one's really thought about sitting on the porch yet, and you're the first one, and you set the trend, and then pretty soon everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Those were great times, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
We're bringing them back.
Also accurate. All right, I'm gonna play the intro.
All right.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo, exclusively on the foxhole.app.
All right. We're live. Welcome to the Funklosophy episode. Oh, what episode is this? This is
17.
Thank you. 17. Hey, I picked a good one. That's awesome. Of the channel G Ross we're just going straight into it, mostly because we're using the weekend staff for production here. I barely know what I'm doing. And so there's not really an off-screen, there's not a green room back there, and there's no curtains to pull. So guest SloanTV is already right here with us. So welcome, Commander Sloan.
Well, thank you, G. Ross. Absolute pleasure and privilege to be here. And everybody out there in Porchland.
Porchland, yep. Yeah, I don't know how much of my porch is making it. I think you can see the bricks. And kind of at the bottom, maybe a little chair. A little bit of the chair.
A little bit of the legs of the chair.
Yep. And I probably should get the chat up. Good. So the idea here was, I thought there ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ashead says hello. I was like, I really need to sit down and have a chat with SloanTV, with Tim Sloan, with Commander Sloan, because we have a text to voice communication going with so many people, and then in the other part of the day it'll be the other direction, and I feel like I know you exceedingly well, but we've never really had a voice chat.
No. And likewise, that's the one thing I'd like to get on old SloanTV is call-ins.
You know, Zoso might have the best method.
Oh, they got the dial phone?
Yeah, just pick it up. Hello. Like old radio.
I love Zoso, man.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear when he was in the chats? And I was like, well, I was talking about Quite Frankly, and he chimed in chatting. And I'm like, well, when's Aurora's birthday? And he said, September 15th, she'll be 2. I'm like, wow, he watches this Quite Frankly. And then later on in the chat, I said, so do you know Frank? And I think he mistyped the first time. He's like, no, I don't know Frank. And then he redid it and said he does know Frank. He's been in the studio and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know why I start. You know what? I think the voice plays a lot with the channels you like to listen to.
Creating your first video, you should start with the music.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, I think you're onto something. Not to gush, but I find myself gravitating towards your channel more and more as time goes on. For that reason, I think.
It's all pretty mellow. I mean, voice-wise, you know, with
maybe close the door before you start shooting.
LT and we know.
Yes. And
I had Tron was on this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, that was a favor you did for us because I hadn't caught Tron and I needed to, and boom, it was right there.
Yeah. I love that streaming, man. I can get the stuff right to the table.
Unchained 01 in the house. Let me turn that into an interview question. Because I was going to kind of do an interview format just to give it a structure. What did you discover that improved your streaming life the other day? I know you did something.
Oh, I hit the, what is it, OSB or no, that's Wood. OBS. I hit the streaming button and then look down at my phones, and it's like, wow, it's working right now. And then it's saved in Restream as a recording. And before that, I was recording it and then uploading it to Restream, and I didn't have to do that. So it would make it an hour or two, or depending how late I was. So hit the stream button, and it automatically records. And you know what? I thought, everything's a godsend. And when that happened, I thought, oh boy, the news is going to get really freaking heavy, and I'll be prepared with it so it can go not instant, because you got to watch for it, but it'll be as close to instant as I can get it, which is what we want.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's already changed the pacing of your channel.
Do you really?
I do, for the better. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, the X22's been like, I've been catching those right off the bat, but I thought, no, I was playing Tron, and then I checked to see if there was anything at X22, and he had just dropped the financial one. So I was like, well, this is perfect. I'll just go from Tron to X22s. I'll tell you what, I was tired this afternoon, man. Whew. Staying up till 5:30 in the morning. It was, you know why I stayed up till 5:30?
I missed that, or I forgot.
It was Derek Johnson's 3-hour talk.
So I kind of crossed wires. The Ivan thing is not Derek Johnson, right?
No, that's Red Pill.
Right. So I got to go catch the Derek Johnson thing, I think, then.
It's 3 hours.
Okay.
So I started streaming it right after the show, and you got to be there to shut the stream off, or I'd be a Spazzo Yeti.
Right.
I always check on him. Sometimes he's sleeping while the thing's still running.
On Restream, how long do they keep the recordings up there?
1 month.
1 month, okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a way to pull it so you have an archive copy?
Well, when I was doing it the recorded way, I was having an archived copy. And so now I'll have to figure out. You know what? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into my video folders, and see if they're automatically saved to there as well as Restream. And if that's the case, then yeah, I'll have one that I can drop in the terabyte.
Kind of see where the mouse is. This is on Windows. The streaming is right here, and the recording button is right there. And if I hit both, then I have my local copy saved automatically.
Okay, well, mine automatically, when I hit stream, the recording automatically starts too. So then, to answer your question, I would say, yep, I got a copy.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure you don't lose anything in a month.
Yeah. Well, it's all out there,
Well, yeah, you can always pull it from Foxhole.
The one thing I'm worried about, I'm worried about losing my Stella Mika fight.
Oh, I've
when
never seen that.
The dog went freaking wild Friday or Thursday.
Okay. We've got Winchester in the house as well.
Love Winchester. Happy birthday, Rhett.
Happy birthday, Rhett. The party continues.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen Rhett in the chat yet, but we'll see if that happens.
She'd probably sleep.
That's wisdom right there. So I was trying to think if I knew. I've picked up bits and pieces of kind of how you went from point A to point B to where you're now a pretty highly attended syndicated streamer. But rather than me try to tell it as an intro, would you be comfortable to summarize just a couple highlights of, interesting signposts along the way between some prior point to now?
Okay, let's go. I'll go start with last summer. Last summer, I was running around the country, and I wanted to go out there to. Robert David Steele was out at Mount Rushmore, and they were doing, and him and boy, there was a lot of them. Lee Dundas was with them. There's a whole bunch of them, and they split up and they got in an argument or something out in Mount Rushmore. And so I was out there, and I'm like, well, which way do I go? Do I go following Robert David Steele? And they were going to be having it at Mount Rushmore, their event. And the other choice was to go and see Patriot Street Fighter. So I went to Patriot Street Fighter in Buffalo Chip. And I'm like, well, these guys got good message, Lee Dundas. Lee Dundas is a firecracker. And so I kind of followed along as like a groupie kind of thing, because I wanted to see what the people were feeling and just how, because I had already been to Trump rallies, and I thought I want to just see what the grassroots look of things is. And the only way to do it is to get out there and go to those events. And so I kind of followed along and bounced back and forth to their events. And then I went to the Patriot Fest over at the Patriot Hour. And I don't know if you know Ben, but Ben was part of the startup of the Patriot Hour and has done a few videos. And he's freaking smart as a whip. He's absolutely super smart. And so I said to Ben, I'm like, I said, I got it all figured out. He's like, oh yeah, tell me. I said, everything's a freaking lie. He's like, spot on. And so then he's like, well, when are you going to do a show? So I said, well, I've been thinking about it. And I said, what I'm thinking is taking all the great news channels and kind of just streaming them and syndicating them. And so then last fall, I was kind of watching other podcasters to see what windows they had open. And like, that's on the fringe, Dan radio style. He would leave it all open. And so I could screenshot that, and then I'd say, oh, he's taking and opening a window for each story so he can just click, click, click. And NPC, he had a lot of good information. Frankie. And who else? But then I thought, well, you just got to get on here and do it. And after I think it was the first week or so, because what I was doing is I was recording, and then I'd schedule them so that while I went to work, and then when I'd get back, I'd load up more and kept it going. But I'd look at the comments, and somebody made the comment, oh, you found X22. We thought he was gone. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, I'm like, this will grow, because how many people got shut off, got the door slammed in their face, watching Truthers, and that day in October 2020, YouTube decides, we're shutting you off. You'll never hear about these guys again on YouTube, but keep watching us. And it was like, well, that's kind of what's led up to that, to old Sloan TV. And the people that are watching the show, Winchester, Asshead, all these people, they're just great people. It's like a family. I never thought I'd be doing something like I'm doing. Never.
That's pretty cool. I have a question about Sloan TV here in just a second, but I want to say in the chat we've got somebody was talking about the Brave browser or the Brave Talk. Homegoy's in the house, and he was curious how we like Brave Talk. Homegoy, this is my first time to use it, and it was off of a pro tip from Commander Sloan right here.
Via Duppy.
Via Duppy. So does it change? I thought it would show whoever's talking if I use this screen. Let me see what's going on. No, it just keeps showing. I have to click automatically. Ooh, not click on that. All right, cool. I'll go back to the other view then. So before I ask about Sloan TV, a quick question. Let me ask you about the skunk and the leaf blower. What's the score?
2-0, Jack. 2-0.
Nice. Awesome.
I had, when the COVID first started, I'm like, 2 weeks, I'm going to clean up the yard early spring, do a real nice early spring, just chill out, right? And I get most of it done, and I'm going back by the pond, and there's a skunk. And I'm like, I was going to do some pond work, and the skunk's there. And I'm like, oh, no, this guy's got to go. So I went and got the backpack blower and just stayed back enough to where just that blowing from that thing would just barely hit his tail. And he dociled his way off in. And then the last one was the same thing, down by the same area. Look out, and it's like, what the hell is that? It's like, you gotta go get him. You gotta play the wind. It's like golf. Winchester would be a great skunk chaser. He's got a great golf game.
Nice. That's awesome. It's now a sport. That's what it is.
But here's the deal. If I lose once, I'm never doing it again.
Right.
Because I can't imagine, I've had to clean dogs, and I've found that taking Dawn on a damp cloth over your whole dog, that gets that oil.
Yeah.
They still stink, but that gets that oil. And I don't get them really wet. I let that stuff just soak in.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
I sometimes go to the quarter mile. It's not. It's a quarter mile racetrack out here, a drag strip, about an hour south of me, and it's pavement instead of tarmac, so it's a little bit unique. But John Force had an accident there once, and so it's like he's got a ghost. I feel like that would be you on the back nine. Here's Commander Sloan playing. What was the name of the skunk sport? Skunk blowing.
Yeah.
But he's a little itchy on this back nine because he once got hit by a skunk here, so he's never been the same around this corner.
Yeah, it's like Caddyshack.
Right.
It's got a flavor of Caddyshack.
Yep. So my main question to start off with for Sloan TV is, what makes for good TV?
Oh, without a doubt, people just being themselves. Don't try and be plastic. Don't act like you're something you're not. Be humble. It's like when I started the show and started doing the lives regular, it was Lara Logan, that pretty reporter from 60 Minutes and everywhere. And she's like, I never have a script or I never have anything. She says, because if I tell the truth, then you don't need a script. You don't need anything. And so I thought, you know what? That's what I'm doing. I'll just get on here. And now that we've been doing it, it's kind of like well, you guys are watching me do what you guys do, lurking around, see what stupid shit's going on, and trying to keep our sanity at the same time. I think it's freaking fun. I really enjoy it.
I have to agree. And you've kind of helped make it fun.
Well, hey, G. Ross, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have Sloan Motion. Did you
Excellent
know that?
point. I'm aware. I was there when Sloan Motion was solidified. Well, no. So you invented Sloan Motion.
No, well, I might have invented it, but you pointed it out because
Right.
I was watching one of your shows.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, I was over watching SloanTV and he's doing a slow-mo reversal of Biden getting out of the car and whatever. And I'm thinking, yeah, that was pretty fun. And now it's like, you do that with regular news clips that everybody's getting just real quick. It's a 5-minute clip, and they boom, it's in your head and that's it. Well, you take and do a reversal of it, that slow motion in reverse. It's like, it's a whole different story. It's like, this is all bullshit. But you pointed it out. I watched it. I watched you commenting about it and I was like, I didn't realize I was doing it, but if you like it, I'll do some more.
You find out more, don't you? When you pause.
I think so. Yeah.
When you kind of go frame by frame. I was doing just on my own some Sloan Motion on one of your Rumble videos. It was Pelosi versus the cat. I was getting a little more out of that. trying to catch it in Sloan Motion. I have a few questions. One of them is kind of just a pro tip that we need here in the household. But before I get into those, I wanted to kind of ask you if there was anything that happened in the last, the news cycle is 30 minutes long nowadays. Anything you want to hit like that, is fascinating to you in the last X amount of hours?
In the last 24 hours, I would say the most fascinating thing was that music that was played in Trump's rally speech. When the lightning happened, did you hear the lightning?
Yes.
The lightning came from a song called I Am Q. And the music came from, which played, I think first, the music played, I'm not sure the order, but the music was from Where We Go One, We Go All. So as far as the news in the past 24 hours, I would say it's the rally. And, they're propping us to fight in the streets, which, you know what? Patriots are smart enough to know, why would I want to go out around these loonies from the left when I can just watch them on SloanTV and there's no fight there? I mean, other than if they were harming kids or senior citizens, but I think it's just going to be some loonies from the left and I don't know, because they say they're amassing a lot of people for these riots, but I don't see it, just with traveling around. And it's like, that doesn't mean that it isn't possible, but I see them prepping us for an indictment with Trump, getting fired up. And then we're going into the election and people have said, well, they get the riots going right before the election so they can stop the election. Very plausible. I mean, there's so many different ways it can go. But the one thing is, in my opinion, is stay the hell away from those protests.
I think
that
that's
would be
good
it.
guidance. That's good guidance. And I do think cooler heads will prevail, but there's no guarantee. So we almost have to keep talking it out, like studying the enemy, seeing what their moves are and be ready with our counter moves. And so far the counter move has been don't shoot, right?
Yeah. And wait for the plane.
The plane.
Wait for the plane. I mean, right there, it's like, after we saw the video, which was a couple of weeks after it had been made, I think. I'm like, oh, he's got to fly that sucker to Alaska, blow the carbon out of it. But that soon proved to be just one of those pre-programmed things in my American brain that we want it and we want it now.
You know, in your chat today, I was fairly convinced that he's got to use it before the midterms. That's a horse in a stable right now.
Yeah. But you know what? I can see it possibly a year from now. I mean,
that was the other model. An anniversary of the escalator voyage.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's fun to speculate and because that's really all we can do. And I heard somebody a few times saying, oh, Tron, he really reaches. And he really reaches sometime. And I don't watch it a lot, but what I've seen is they're trying to connect dots, timestamps, all the different methods that they use, figuring out stuff that was said in a 2-hour speech. And it just reminds me of puzzle pieces on a table, and you got this one spot that's right by it, but you got to reach all the way across the table and back behind something to get that piece. And then you find that doesn't fit, or voila, it fits.
That's a good point. Real quick before we leave the plane, probably most people know that you've kind of put together the Triumph song with the plane painting video. It's called Fight the Good Fight. I did want to ask you today, in the year 2022, like it is, what is the good fight?
Oh, good fight is being one with God. Bar none. And pray for discernment. God tells us to love one another and don't be afraid. Well, I think that's the good fight right now. And if you got things right and they're going good and you're doing that, it shows. And I get people that are like, this shit's, we're getting real close to civil war. And my answer's kind of always the same. Okay, who are we going to shoot?
Right.
Where? Who's the Well, it's Fox News. You can't shoot Fox News. You know what I mean?
Didn't they try that once? It was like some dude in a wall or something. I vaguely remember that. Or maybe it was CNN. Somebody blew something up outside of a CNN building or something.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, way back.
So it's, and I get the frustration. I get the letdown. And not only from our expectations watching this show, but the people that are still in fucking jail in Washington, D.C., which is just lunacy. And people are like, yeah, I'm going to go watch the football game. Nobody's talking about it. And then to sum it all off is the pedophilia stuff that's going on. And the people, that's the one thing they don't want you to talk about, period.
Right.
And I think I heard somebody put it real well. And I think it was Frank on NPC. He's like, you know what? He said the gay community got hijacked by the pedophiles. He said, and you know what? After he said that, I'm like, you know what? You're exactly right. Because what was it? Like 4 letters a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
LGBTQ. Okay, that was the max. I think it's LBT something before that.
Right.
So,
I completely agree.
and the other good fight, more to the good fight. There's more to do with the good fight. Is we got to clean up our schools. We got to get this garbage that's been put into the schools, and they are not going to take it out unless we make sure that they do it. And we got to do it, each of us, at our own local spot. Clean up. The only thing we can clean up, we can't go shoot some invisible enemy. But if we know they've already been into our schools and they're into our local government, then by God, we were asleep when they came in and snuck in. Now we're awake. We cannot not go and clean stuff up. And Lee Dundas made a very good point last summer or fall. And she's like, you got to clean up the schools, the school boards, but you find out which one was endorsing and bringing this stuff in, and that's the one you get rid of. So that would be that's the extent of Save the Children. Save the Children's the top of the list.
You know, when we're thinking about saving the children, which is such an animating joining concept that brings us all together, you know, there's a version that would be all the way to lifting people out of a deep underground military base. They've never seen the sun, you know, however far that goes, right?
It goes that far.
It does, right? But then you also mentioned the schools, where even a child that just goes through enough public school, if the school is corrupt enough, they may not have, you may not have the goods on some teacher that did some horrible thing to them, but they still got that indoctrination. So it's that whole spectrum all the way from one end to the other that has to be fought, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. Winchester's over. Did you see Winchester's?
I wouldn't suck a dick either. So I think I've started figuring this out, and I was thinking this a little bit today, and I want to get your take on it. This is not in the pre-written interview questions, but this is like, it's a really fun, either DLive or Foxhole or any of these places where you got to chat, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the host to crack up. That's really what you're doing. And that's what I think Winchester's out there doing.
He succeeded.
Yep. But that's a good sort of... Oh, go ahead.
Between Winchester, Cautious Observer, Useless Crayon Eater, and Duppy, I got them coming in from all chats, and it's like sometimes I'll read, I'm like, what the... And somebody told me that's like, well, you know what? You're the last one to read the joke because you're flipping buttons and moving stuff. And then I'll look at it. It's Cautious Observer came in the other night, and he's like, I can't believe you son of a... And he just F-bombed this and that. He says, he says, sorry, I meant to say good evening.
Right. I saw that.
But I'm looking at it, it's like, dude, what'd I do?
Right. Asshead says goodnight, by the way. Good night, Asshead.
Good night, Asshead. He's great.
Kind of a random from left field. What would you tell us about Pepe the Frog?
I love the memes. Prior to me doing this, there's a reason I got 7 accounts on Facebook, and they blocked me on damn near all of them. But with my phone, I could screenshot and then edit that picture and have it ready in like 5 seconds. I got really, really super fast with it. And Then on Facebook, they have it to where you can tell your story with some pictures. And so I had some, and they were like 10 or 15 pictures. Well, that's too long. Okay. You want to keep it like 7 pictures, and then you'll get many more viewers, because there's something about people today that they can't sit and watch something for a half hour. They can't sit and watch an hour and a half documentary. They want that TikTok split second. And I get TikTok. TikTok's addictive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I was on it and I'm like, okay, they're using the same music, and there's always a new cute girl or something super funny with a dumb animal, or vice versa, whatever, and you're stuck there watching it for 10 minutes or longer. And so I quit doing it. It was like, this is not going to get, I will accomplish nothing with this. And it's not giving you information. It's giving you a tidbit.
Right. So meme power.
Yes. That's what I would say Pepe is. I don't even understand it, to tell you the truth. I never dove in. What is your feelings on Pepe? Because I just know him as this frog character.
Well, maybe I'll try to find, if I can remember where I saw it. There's a couple of, I forget the guy's name, but like computer science research dude or something, and he's got like orange hair. I forget his accent, and he's probably still on YouTube because he's a little bit safe. But I think it was him, did a real deep dive into Pepe meme magic and sort of Kek magic, like an ancient Egyptian frog, minor frog god. And it seemed, in my view, looking way back, it was happening, and I didn't even know about it. But the 2016 election, I think in part of the spiritual war was to get into that chaos zone where anything can happen. And I often think of Jesus flipping the tables, or a court jester sitting on the king's chair. And I think it's, I'm going into some dangerous waters as a Bible teacher. And I don't want to get too like Jungian and Gnostic, but there's something about, like, Jesus flipped the tables. He goes to the status quo and says, I'm going to turn it upside down. So something about Pepe is involved in that. Does that make sense at all?
It does. And you know what? It was just, I studied all the Q stuff when it first came out, because I had to verify that mathematically this is impossible to be a coincidence. And so in doing that, Pepe was just sitting on the side, and I never dove into it to find out any history behind it or whatever. And I was also thinking earlier, it's like, what people say, oh yeah, I've been following Q since a month after the first drop. Well, that's where I was, a month, maybe 2 months. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking, you know what? Don't take that as though I understood Q from the first time I saw the Q drops.
Right.
Because it took probably, I'd say about 3 or 4 months. Let's see. Yeah, I'd say about 4 months before I really, I knew that it's mathematically impossible. And you got to do a little digging and a little research. It takes time. And, but once you realize that this is a battle for the world, if the United States sinks, freaking world's done. And it's going to be run by little Nazis like that Noah guy that says, humans are whatever, mechanical machines, that sick guy I'm talking about. And then Bill Gates, and have them running this world. They were freaking really close to having it. And when the Q thing first started, or with the after the 2020 election, I was like, well, these dumb deep state, all they got to do is keep their mouth shut and do nothing, and they would be better off. But they just screwed up everything the whole way along. It's like, I couldn't understand that. But then you look at the Q post, and the Q post says these people are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your elected officials, they might look like they're smart. They might have their suit on. They might say all the right things, but that does not mean that they're smart, and they're not. They get grandiose power being in a little government office, even your local government offices. They need to be notched down a little bit and told that we're going to audit you guys, and we want to know what the hell's going on. Like, I live in a pretty busy community, okay? And there's a lot of business and whatnot, and the city is not hurting for money. But you know what they do? And it's raining out tonight, right?
Yep.
I'm driving down a frickin' road. I can't see the lines in the road. You know why? Because they went with the lowest bidder, who put paint that has no reflectivity, if that's the word, no reflective nature to it on the road to save a couple of bucks. And you know what? I'm going to start with that one. That'll probably be one of my first things. You guys are freaking nuts. You're putting roundabouts everywhere, and you can't even put decent stripes on the ground during construction time so that people can see where the hell they're at.
Did I just hear an undercurrent of disliking roundabouts?
No, I don't care about them. I mean, people, it shows, you know, here's the thing with roundabouts. I don't think people realize, but your state government is subsidizing these roundabouts, and who they're subsidizing them for is the insurance companies. Okay. And you're not going to, you know how these corporations are working. You're not going to get a discount on your insurance.
Right.
They do cut back on accidents, from what I've heard, but I've seen some that I swore would never work, and they ended up making things better. So
yeah,
I don't like them, but I'm dealing with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, I'm kind of like a little bit of the, why are you bringing that British thing over here? You know, that's kind of how I see it.
There you go.
Oh man, I had a question in my head. I forgot.
Well, the British are going to be in the news soon with Miss
Queen?
Tess. She looks like a real new part to the show, huh?
Yeah, that was nice that you played that earlier today. It was informative and entertaining.
Yeah.
When is their election?
I think it's tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow or the next day.
All right. I kind of thought you were going to mention the Queen. When do they tell us the fate of the Queen? That's probably been decided for months.
Boy, that's like, what was that lady, that Supreme Court justice, that they kept her on ice for 6 months or whatever?
Yep. Ruth.
The Queen, she hasn't been seen in a long time.
That's right.
And boy, when was it? Because I had Carbs, Ladybird, and there's a couple other ones from over across the pond. And one of them, I was like, well, was that building all boarded up? Because, you know, you get some of these videos and you're like, okay, well, maybe it is, but check your sources local if you can. And so having people from all over the world is really great for that, because they said, no, it was a renovation time, but still, I still thought it was symbolic. I mean, if you watch The Great Awakening, that movie, he took them all down.
Right.
He took them all down, and he took them down pretty quick. That movie tells the whole thing of what happened. The only thing it doesn't tell is what's going to happen.
Right.
Pandemic and how it all plays out.
Clean and swift. So, pandemic, in what way, if any, was it real?
Oh, it was very real pandemic, but it wasn't, people are getting sick. And I think the whole key phrase is plan. They had it planned. You look back at the patents where they patented it, and then they had the tests for it in 2017. The tests were made for it. It's like, yeah, it's completely planned. Was there a virus? Shit, I don't think anybody knows.
Right.
I think there was a virus in the jabs. I think the jabs are not good. Not good. Listen to LT on And We Know. And he kind of apologizes it, but he says, I'm going to keep driving this stuff home. This person dropping dead. The soccer players dropping dead. A 5-year-old having a heart attack. And it just goes on and on. But if you empathize with LT, imagine how many things he's being sent about jabs and adverse reactions. And I know people that didn't get the jab, and the people that around them got the jab and they were sick nonstop. And they would still say, why are we getting sick and you're not? So what are you supposed to do? Think it out for them? I mean,
Right.
wake up. And there's no nice way they're going to argue with you because they stepped up and told their feelings. They would probably started screaming and say, you shouldn't eat meat, and doing that screaming like those protesters in New York City tonight.
Yeah. That was a choice video.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah.
I'm like, it was perfect for Sloan motion too.
Yes.
Watching that dude eat his shish kebab.
Yes.
He was freaking licking the thing.
Well, and that's a very good example of Sloan motion, because I watched you doing that today, and I thought I had gotten everything out of watching that video like 3 or 4 times, but you found the extra. It's Sloan motion.
It was my pleasure.
So one thought that I had to ask you tonight is, I think we would agree a lot of people continue to wake up, right? The wave is spreading. What pro tips would you have for anyone who may be listening to the replay or is lurking somewhere? They just got red pilled today. What would you say to them?
I'd say go watch. Well, if they got red pilled, first thing you want to know is, how did you get red pilled? What is it that's waking you up? Okay, and then take it from political, Hollywood, medical, and for whichever category they answer, then I would say, let's say they say political, then say, well, you gotta watch this movie. Will you commit to watching an hour and a half movie? Whenever it's good for you, but just watch this, and then we'll talk more, because otherwise, I can sit and tell you that everything's corrupt, and you're going to say, prove it, prove it, prove it. And I don't have that kind of time, nor does any of us in this truth movement. We don't have time to sit there and coddle them and tell them everything's going to be all right. Because you know what? Nobody coddled us. Nobody coddled us. We did research. We found out deep, dark shit, very dark. We studied. We learned to use logic and reason again. We were all asleep too. I'm not saying, we're not something special. We were asleep. And maybe start them with that. I don't know. I mean, I try to find what direction, what was the red pill? It had to have a category, don't you think?
I agree. What I kind of heard in your answer is, and this is something I didn't even anticipate, is there's no one size fits all. You want to know how they got there.
Right.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, let me still, even though this will probably have a similar thing, what if somebody today is talking to you and contemplating maybe a season of black pill? What could you do there?
a season of black pill.
Yeah, because I don't believe somebody would take it permanently. I think you can unblack pill, but you ever known anyone is just so, I don't know what the word is. I don't think a lot of people are taking the black pill these days, but they were for a while. Did you?
Okay, well, define what a black pill is.
Despair?
Where you're waking up and then you take the black pill to try and go back to sleep?
No, that'd be more like I don't know the official pill for that. I think that's trying to blue pill, but you can't do that. No, I think the black pill is like, yeah, but what can you do kind of thing. Like, fatalism.
Well, then leave them alone.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
You know what? I would maybe say, if they said, well, what can you do? Say, you know what? You let your schools it's that attitude to let your schools get the way they are. Mm-hmm. That's the attitude that let the government be breathing down your throat like they're your boss and you submit to them. Just let it go. It'll get much better. I would have to get a little high strung with somebody blackpilling. They don't do that much. I hear most things I hear is we're going to civil war. We got to go. Somebody's going to have to pay for it. Well, hell yeah, somebody's going to have to pay.
Yeah, they're going to pay.
Fighting your neighbor ain't going to fix nothing. And if they're stupid and are just happy with CNN and excited about Bri-Bri's new replacement, then just let them sit there on that chair.
Right.
And with their mask on while they're waiting for their DoorDash delivery.
Right.
Some of them, they eventually come out, but you can tell they're freaking scared. There are people that were germaphobes that locked themselves up. And you know what? If you were a germaphobe and all this bullshit's getting thrown at you about a virus, you're not going to just say, well, I don't believe them. You're going to say, oh God, I got to get more Clorox. I got to start cleaning more regularly. Whatever. I don't know what goes on in their minds, but yeah.
Well, let me confess to you, in March of 20, mid-March, when they hit us with the 15 days, I was real nervous to go to the grocery store or to go out in public and touch things. For about 2 weeks, I was like kind of phobic.
Yeah. What? That's part of their propaganda, and they're very polished at making us scared. Mm-hmm. But you know what? When they did that, and I saw that 10-foot pole vault with a swab on the end of it, and people willingly letting them shove that thing up into their nose, I'm like, what has happened to people? Nobody's even questioning this pole vault swab that they're sticking in our nose. Nobody's questioning it.
They're like shoving this in your nose.
Yeah, that's a nice one. That's got the black on the end of it.
Yeah, it's retractable.
That's an Antifa swab.
That is.
But that was. I remember going into Home Depot and people kind of running away from me because I'm not wearing a mask and dodging into an aisle to let me go walking past them. And I'll never forget that. But it's like you know what? I had the old Dwight Schrute mentality. He said that there should be bowls of fecal bacterias and stuff instead of this hand lotion.
Right.
It's like, get a good dose of germs and whatnot, you know?
Do you remember when they're busy saying to the camera, I don't know, there's this smell. It kind of smells. And then they cut to Creed and he's like, I know exactly what they're talking about. Mung beans. And he pulls out the drawer. Smell like death.
Yeah. I know exactly what they're talking. Creed was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I love that show. But then when you find out that Dwight was a sick, twisted shit, it just took, I can't sit and watch them even though they're acting.
It is tough. Rainn Wilson. Yeah, I was a fan. And
but what about the other guys, G? I mean, what about Michael Scott? And then you never heard anything bad about him. And then Jim, they're using him as a poster boy on a lot of the meme stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, I never heard anything bad about those guys. The only one I ever heard bad about was Rainn. What is it, Rainn Wilson or whatever?
Well, at one point, and I don't want to pop off without any research, but I picked up, just kind of in the transom, other people's opinions. Apparently, the guy who plays Michael Scott is a high-up controller, like a real high up.
Really?
Yeah, I picked that up a few years back. Can't prove it.
Right?
Yeah. But it kind of fits. As I watch him, I'm like, yeah, he might be one of those, like American Beauty, Kevin Spacey type. But I think Kevin Spacey is one of the highest.
Oh, he's a sick one, man.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. Well, I think Creed is probably cute.
Nice.
Why not?
That's awesome. So one of the questions I thought about throwing in, I don't actually think, if I hadn't remembered this, I would have kicked myself if I didn't. Remember, I sent you an interview question for you to use some few months ago because you were canvassing.
Yeah.
And I thought about this. To hold it this late in the meeting is kind of horrible because you've already answered a lot of deep questions. So you can use any prior material. But in case you don't remember it, I've reworded it. Here it is. You ready?
Yeah.
You go into the cave. You face down the dragon. You bring back the treasure in a box. You hand it to the village. They all open it up. What's in the box?
Oh, I remember that question. Oh my gosh. I would say it would be the new power source. Remember, have you guys heard where they said Trump will, it was from Kim Clement.
Yeah.
And he'd hold something up and people would laugh, but it was so genius. I would say it's that, whatever that is. How's that?
The Tesla 0 point energy or something?
Yeah.
Nice.
Here's
Excellent
free
answer.
energy.
I need to.
That was a great question. I remember you sent me that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to read this 3 times. I can't imagine what all the questions might be.
Right.
But you sent questions, and D Witt, I think, on D Live, she sent me some great questions, and I saved them, and I haven't looked at those in a while, but I remember that one that you sent. I was like, damn, G. Ross is deep on this one.
Nice.
Real deep on this. Good question, though.
So I'm going to tell Angular, my co-host on Fridays, tomorrow the answer to this question. In football practice, how hard do you hit your friend?
As hard as you can.
I knew the answer already. Just wanted to hear you say it.
You know what? I had this great coach in football, and we would literally be beating the shit out of each other after the play. We're linemen, and you got the guy that's after your position. They put him on the defense, and he's trying to get your position. So, I mean, it was just frickin' war. And that coach, to this day, he remembers. He's like, Sloan, I remember having to rip you guys apart. You were always scrapping. And it was, hey, you're fighting for a position. You got pads on. Who gives a shit?
That's right.
But the great thing was that when you do that, you got respect is built. And once that respect is built, that respect travels off of the field. And we never had anybody that would fight amongst each other or didn't like each other off of the practice field or off the game field.
Nice.
So I think going absolutely full tilt, ape shit, kick ass on the football field is the only way to do it. You don't feel like doing it all the time, but it's the absolute best thing you can do. Go kick some ass. It's the only place you're allowed to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, football and sports was great.
I have to agree.
If you're a content creator and want to create the best,
I have one last question.
check out their
Okay.
marketplace. My name is Eric.
And then we'll talk maybe about upcoming projects and things like that, because we want to make sure to remember to hit promos and stuff.
Thanks to MotionRay, an all-in-one marketplace.
Whatever comes to mind, what is your best donut memory?
And the best thing is that I can make them my own. MotionRay has a simple license for all of your creative needs. So head over to
Best donut memory.
bigger than ever and easily make your videos the
Jeez. But it has to go back with Cautious Observer, who's done a lot for SloanTV. Number one, in the point that he's like, would you please change your webcam so that I'm not looking at where we go one, we go all backwards.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, you know what? Maybe he's smoking a little bit and he's punking me, because I don't even know clue of how to do that. And he took Donnie the Donut and just absolutely ran with it. Says I'm a pastry file, I'm a donut file, and he's even got a floating donut on his music station to preserve Donnie. So Donnie the Donut would be the absolute number one best memory of a donut. In that, the thing, it was kind of like a little science project. And G. Roch, you said, you made a great statements like, I never seen anybody that had so many damn props within 3 feet of you.
Yep.
Well, Donnie became a prop. And then it was like a science project. It was a blueberry cake donut, round with the hole in the middle. And I've got a donut over here that's like, I think 2 weeks old at the end of this table. And I got to look at it to see if it's hard or whatever. But that donut, it was a blueberry cake donut. And even as it eventually solidified, and it probably took a month before it was like a hockey puck.
Right.
It still smelled like blueberry. It had great fragrance. It didn't get any mold on it. I don't think a donut ever gets mold. Do you?
No, it's got that sugar seal on the outside, or at least the glazed ones do. I don't know about the blueberry ones.
Well, the blueberry, tell you, yeah, I got me my box of donuts. Yeah, it's pretty hard. And it's one of those that's got the filling in it. Can you hear that?
I can.
It's almost hammer-esque. I could pound in a nail with this sucker.
Nice.
And look, it still holds its shape just perfect.
That's impressive.
It doesn't even have a flat edge where and you know what's funny? Is that people were trying to save the donut. They're like, you can put that in the freezer and save it. And
Oof.
you could wrap it in a paper towel or something and microwave it and it'll still be good. It's like, really? I don't think no, I don't need a donut. I'll get some more sometime. But I did go by yesterday. I went by Jubilee Donuts.
Okay.
And Cautious Observers like, buy local, man. And it's like, it's a good point. But there's not a lot of local donuts anymore. There's one place is called Peace, Love, and Donuts, which is really, I haven't been in there, but you can just imagine what you're walking into.
Right.
Maybe when I learn how to do live, going out on the street kind of stuff, like, what's his name? Alex?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that guy's good.
Yeah. 99 Alex Stein.
I felt like he was pushing even my buttons on one of the ones recently.
Yeah, he gets him, man. He's great.
We have classical chick in the house, and also I have to play a donut from Hangton Alien Surfer. Bear with me while we play the donut. Oh, I mean the cookie. I said donut. I meant cookie. Cookie broke. Let's try this again.
Hey, why don't you play the plane after the donut so I can go fill up my cocktail?
Oh yeah, let's do it. All right. Okay, the donut, the cookie. I played it as best I could. So yeah, let's do. Pause this. We'll go here. Is it showing? Yeah, I think it is. Right. All right. So for those who don't know how to do this, you go to Rumble. You type in SloanTV Good Fight, and you hit click. Here's the plane. In 4 seconds.
Awesome. Love that.
Days grow shorter and the nights are getting long.
Love that song.
It is so good. I made so many rookie mistakes on the screen while I was playing that. Oh, well.
It's live TV. It's the best.
It's the best. So I also made another rookie mistake earlier. I didn't read the super chat from Norm, Hankton Alien Surfer. He said, green Otter Pops are the best. What would you say about Otter Pops? Did you chime in on that before?
No, I know nothing about Otter Pots.
Pops, the little frozen treats. I had voted that purple was the best, but Norm is saying green.
You mean those little slide up things? Those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Boy, I don't know. I might have to get a box of them to do a test.
Oh, and like that's one of the things I like is you'll do those tests on live TV, like cutting open pillows.
Oh, whew. That was amazing. I thought there had at least been different stuff in them. It was the same shit in every pillow, just a different wrapping.
We came into this.
That's Hankton Alien Surfer sent. I did it all for the cookie with the Cookie Monster. Let me play the can animation. We got a can that came in. See if I can get that to work. We may be having troubles with our animations. Okay, that one worked somehow.
So what are all your scene buttons there?
Okay, so I have whatever intros I've got here on the left, and I got 3 choices: Spread Pill Weekly, Epistemology, or 90 Nation. So the Wednesday, the Sunday, and the Friday show. And then I like to go into a close-up from there. So that's just basically a backdrop and a camera. And then the main screen has the foxhole on the left. And usually I'll have whatever screen I'm sharing there, and then the little video in the lower right corner, like there.
Oh.
And then I do an outro scene, which is always the same outro. And then if I do a Zoom meeting like with Black Yoda, that's this screen. I forget why. And I hardly ever use these other 4.
I've never used any of that stuff other than to originally get it set up. The only thing I've used was those watermark things I got on the bottom, SloanTV.
Right.
I was really proud of myself when I learned how to make one of those.
No, those are actually pretty nice, yeah. I dig those. So I wanted to ask you if there's anything coming up that you'd want to tell people about, as far as if there happens to be anything, or we can just plug the show, whatever promo we need to do. It's promo time, if you're amenable.
Promo? I'll tell you what, I look forward to be doing probably 3 more live not 3 more live shows, a total of 3 live shows a day. That's what I'm preparing for, because I don't think we're going to have less news.
Right.
And or quicker. Hey, when it comes out, I'll have it on SloanTV as quick as possible. And the other things I was going to do is have a SloanTV channel that just ran all the classics for helping people that are just starting to wake up. And then another one for shorts, maybe comedy and shorts and stuff like that. But let's see how it goes. It all takes time. But, just being on this, I've learned from how you operate that OSB or OBS, which isn't wood. OBS is the wood.
Right.
OSB.
So I'm confused. Hankton Alien Surfer is in the room, but so is Norm. I'm 100% confused. We got a cookie in from Norm.
Here comes Cookie.
Thank you, Norm.
Yeah. It is nice to hear from Norm. I'm wondering if that's old person here sitting up late at night. Sits right next to Hangton Alien Surfer chick. I wonder if that's login from. Anyway. Well, do you want to go into any? You're going to stay up till 5 a.m. and I don't have work tomorrow. Do you want to go into overtime? I have no more prepared material at all.
Oh yeah, I ain't got nothing to do.
Okay, so one thing that pops to mind is I want to show off. See if you get a kick out of this at all.
This video, I'm going to show you how quickly and easily create doodle videos.
Gotta get rid of this ad. So the GROS channel, or the GROS thingy on We Are One. Okay, Norm is setting me straight. We are one. Okay, so it's a symbiotic relationship between the alien and Norm. That's what I think I'm hearing. Did you catch Trump said that Zuckerberg joined him at the White House last week?
I didn't catch it, but I had heard that was said. And you know what? He doesn't misspeak for a reason.
Right. So
that's the whole thing. It's the whole thing that drives people nuts is that
right.
They think, oh, he slipped. Dude doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything without reason.
Right. So did he mean maybe the Southern White House, which is what Mar-a-Lago is, right?
I don't know.
It wasn't Mar-a-Lago purchased originally, or built originally by the lady or she bought it or whatever, and she said it would be the Southern White House.
Oh, I don't know that. I've not done any dives on Mar-a-Lago, which I bet you it's a great dive in itself.
I'm going to skip over the mass stabbing attacks from Canada, unless you want to talk about them.
Nah.
I mean, tonight before I go to sleep, I'll pray for the families, of course, but. So
yeah, I mean, You know what? Why ruin a perfectly good weekend looking at their negative propaganda?
Right.
I mean, it's like what happened remember about a week ago, there's 3 cops that beat the shit out of somebody.
Right.
And it's like somebody mentioned it, and I'm like, yeah, isn't that something? I said, you got what? Let's say you got 800,000 cops in the United States. So out of 800,000 cops, the mainstream media on every platform that they have blew this incident into, and you know what? It makes people pissed off. Either they're realizing that they're getting lied to, or it just builds angst against maybe them getting in trouble with cops and whatever's happened. And they're not all good cops, but that whole media shit, negative and bad news. It's honestly, I think you could get more news out of Il Donaldo Trumpo, those funny little clips. They're giving you news. It's just funny. And it helps you keep your sanity. It does me anyhow. I mean, I've watched a couple clips tonight from CNN and whatever the other one, MSNBC, and I could literally feel myself like, just why? And that's bad, because it's Sunday night, we got Labor Day tomorrow, and this little article is making me upset.
Right.
I like good news.
So I have a thesis that the deep state thinks Trump's holding their nose in his hand.
If so, you gotta check out artlist.io for your videos.
Yes, got your nose.
Okay, Luke Oil. That guy met his demise.
Oh, really? You know who else? You got it. The next one.
I forget whose chat. Yeah. Somebody said Bloodbath and Beyond, which is an old joke for Bed Bath and Beyond. but also there was Bed Bath, and I thought, beyond the open window. Too soon. I know.
Wasn't it last week they were saying they were shutting the air conditioning off? Was that the store? They were shutting the air conditioning off.
Is that the one?
I think it was. I'm not positive. It was one of the big chains. And then the CFO jumps out of the window. In New York City, where I don't think the windows, who knows?
Right. No, it's funny business when somebody jumps out of a window in a big city. Norm is saying he needs to get a channel on the Foxhole. Norm, you do. You do. You do. It's two different fun things, right? I like calling in, like 412, which I don't get a chance to do as much anymore because of work. But Reasonable TV. But doing your own thing, it kind of puts you on the spot. What do you think, Sloan?
Yeah, it's a commitment for sure. But I think, we got a really good talk radio station where I live. And I don't know for certain, but I'll bet you their what do you call it? Their listener base has just been skyrocketing since all this CNN's diving. Those people are going somewhere. And so I thought, if you could get that set up on TV, having a call in, but those guys, I think they work 4 hours, and, they get burnt. They get burnt out on it. And one guy, he's really good, but when he's done with his talk show, he's a gamer, and he likes playing video games. And can you blame him after talking about hearing everybody say, "Well, this is going to happen," and that, I watched Zoso, and he was taking callers to give away a coffee cup, I think.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and it was a big coffee cup, a 20-ouncer. But it was like, I wonder how often he does that, has a call in.
I want to say usually on Saturdays when I check out his show, it seems like it's about once a week that he does the call in, but I don't actually know. So I first heard Zoso's voice, to my recollection, on Reasonable TV when Craig was on YouTube, and he was probably on several channels. But I was always listening on YouTube, just being lazy. I knew the purge was coming. Like it was just a matter of when, right? We all knew it was coming. Still, yet somehow, what you said it was October
of 2020.
Yeah, and even then, I didn't quite believe it till it happened. But
Brutal.
Everyone was getting ready for it, But Zoso was calling in on that show. And so I got to know his voice through that. And I knew he was traveling cross country. But I didn't know he was a huge part of Foxhole. And I was listening to Foxhole all the time and didn't even, I don't know. I wasn't even lurking in the chats. I just was using it as a streaming platform, just to like an audio platform only. I don't know what my point is, but that's Zoso. I feel like I've known him for years.
How long have you been doing this, G?
I want to say it was like January, late December, early January of this year, as far as on the Foxhole and stuff. Yeah. I didn't do any streaming before Foxhole either, so yeah, about 9 months of streaming. No, 8.
Well, you've been doing this as long as I have.
Mm-hmm. It's about the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Your shows are great, man. They really are.
Thank you.
I like when the Bible study goes off the rails.
Yeah.
That's freaking good, man. It's like, and then, it's like you're talking, you get into the politics and religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's absolutely fantastic. There's nothing wrong with talking about that stuff. the powers that be have told us through their brainwashing techniques, you don't talk about religion and you don't talk about business. And people hold to that now like crazy.
Right.
Like if you get a liberal, if you piss off a liberal, what do they say? I don't want to talk about that.
We're
They
done
back
here.
off and run. Why not? Let's have a civil discussion, see where it goes. And then if we disagree, we agree to disagree. But that's terrible that we can't get any deeper than that.
Right. It's a subtle form of mind control and stifling speech that they somehow slipped in. So let me be a concern troll for a second. I won't play the clip unless you probably remember it when Trump says, "We're not going to be here." Well, some of you won't be here. And then what does he say? He says,
That was, yeah.
let me play it. And then he says
Yeah.
the China dust. That's what I was trying to remember. So you remember that little section?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of tweaked me a little.
Well, there's a lot said in that little comment.
Have you thought about what the China dust is yet?
No. I want to think, did you ever hear that they use drones to drop some of these? They're not doing it, but they were ready to. If Hillary would have won, they would have been using drones to drop a lot of these sicknesses and whatnot. I just heard that the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so sick. But that shows how sick these people are. And so when he mentioned the dust, I was like, the China dust. It just, I don't even know where to go with it. That's like, we found that Tron my this morning was after 12.
Right.
And I found that, and I'm like, well, here's, if you're going to find somebody that'll dissect it, it's these guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear whether they got into that part of the dust. That was like a 3-hour stream what they did.
Mm-hmm. They do a couple few hours every Sunday. Just
Good
about
stuff.
every Sunday. They have possibly a little side relationship that they can't quite confirm with Danny Scavino and Mike Pompeo, because they'll drop stuff during the show that seems maybe that's where maybe people say there's some reaching.
Well, I think Scavino watches them.
There
And
was
Pompeo.
Who else
dissects these things? Space Shot. You got Space Shot,
Mhm.
Tron. You got
RDoc.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that whole crew. There's, I think Enoch does it. I know Entheos does. Zero Brain used to. iPod 1776 used to.
So would you say maybe a total of 20 of them that are really fluent in taking a speech, taking an event, and they just pick it apart. So I would say I'm just guessing, maybe 20 of them that are really top of the line, digging into it. So if that's the case, to think that Trump and Scavino and the Q people aren't watching that stuff, you're kidding yourself.
Right.
They've got to monitor what we're putting out and seeing what's effective and know where the lay of the land is and where people are sitting. And people that are, even if they're lurking, watching this channel, they know what's going on. I'm not saying that they're doing it in a negative way, but to mark your, whatever marks your computer or your phone, to take that and to Mark to see where are they going physically. Are they going to rallies? Are they going, or are they just primarily, pumping out stuff on this? What channels are they going to? They study. They got to be studying all. It's not really advanced computer stuff to tag somebody and then, at the end of the week, look and see where they went.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because I a lot of times think that and then I forget to articulate it. Like, we, the collective us, whatever, the MAGA crowd, are a component in this, and they are interacting with that. And I've sometimes thought even the Q posts were responsive to whether or not something got understood or not. Because it sometimes seems like Q repeated itself a couple times and clarified things.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Do you remember? Well, I remember walking around for a year asking people if they heard about Q. And it was probably longer than a year. And people just look at me like, I don't know, what are you talking about? And then your close friends, you'd say, well, listen, it's this and this. And they were going to do this and this. And then, then they look at you like you're nuts and you got to go to work. But it was a year. Nobody knew Q. And then I went to a buddy that I bought a garden tractor off of and knocked on his door on a freezing night in February and asked him, you ever heard of Q? He's like, yeah. And then X22, yeah. And he's like, Tim, do you want to come in? Yeah. I was like, dude, I've been looking for somebody that knows about Q for a freaking year. Mm-hmm. For a freaking year. And so, what was it, 2 years ago? It was a little over 2 years ago. I heard Jesse Waters on Fox News, and he said, the Q has just reached 11%. And the 11% was 11% of the population knew about Q. And he said, now 11% doesn't sound like much, but in this realm, that they're in the internet realm or whatever, you have to hit 11% before it'll go viral. Okay. And I'm like, well, that's just freaking awesome. Thank God, Yeah. And now today, people want to know about Q. And if I post stuff like from Praying Medic, he's got some good stuff about basics or getting into Q or studying it, whether you think it's for you. And I look at the viewers, how many people viewed it, and it always goes off the chart. I should do more of it, but and it's tough to pick sometimes.
Yeah. The Mr. Truth bombs lately, I've been digging those on your channel.
Oh, Frank Staint. Frank Staint was the one that he sent that to me. He's like, check this out a little bit later or after the show. And he sent me a link of it. And it's like, I forgot about all these. These are freaking gold. People will love them. They're high quality. They're fact-based. And if you don't agree with it, then do your own little research on what you don't agree with. But I think are really accurate. And Truth Bomb, and I'll be able to do a lot more different truthers. But then I want to stay with X22 and We Know, because those I consider my own staple. Mm-hmm. And the reason I had to make my own staple was because of Telegram and all of these news people that came around after they got rid of all the truthers in October. And we had all these new people coming in. So you got to figure out whether they're worth shit or not and decipher whether they're, on the good side or the bad side. And then you got Telegram. You go to Telegram and it just dumps more freaking information on than any one human could take. And you know what? I've had enough of all this all over the board. I'm going back to basics. I'm going back to what I watched when I first started, which was X-22s, and we know the Patriot Hour, Space Shot, all of, the whole, there's 30 of them, Red Pill, and they were all good, really good, great information, giving you the opinion, telling you, hey, if you don't believe me, do your own research, which somebody saying that is just beautiful. And so that's why I thought, there's got to be other people that are feeling like I am, and they're sick of this bombardment of stuff that really at the end of the day doesn't add up to a whole lot, and they just want the news. And they know it's going to be a war, and we got to be patient and give me the best stuff you got, and so I can keep living my life.
I sometimes think the war never ends.
Yeah, it's easy to think that. It is, because, you've heard like Cliff High, he said, oh, this could take generations.
Yeah.
You have all these people that, and that's, that doesn't fit along with our, I want my coffee and I want it now. Right. I don't want to wait for the percolator to go.
Right.
And so
here's the big secret. Anyone can make one of these.
And on that same comment, Cliff High making of this could take generations, who's to say that it hasn't been going on for a generation to get to this point? Has our whole life been episodes of us losing our freedoms little by little so that we could get to this? And, I'm in the Great Awakening movie, I coined China back, or I don't know, coin's a word, but I spotted China starting this war in 2012 or 2013, when she started to get rid of corruption. Right. And it's a real brief statement, and it said it tells, and there was 183,000 that were arrested this month, which exceeded by 10 or 15% from the previous month. So to find out when did this war start, there's right there, find the point where it started, because I heard something on, what was it? Maybe it was Tron, but it was about something in the 90s, a movie in the 90s. Damn, I forget what it was. And it was talking about, I know what it was, lifestyles of the rich and famous. And Leach or whatever, he was doing a thing about the Mar-a-Lago home, and he showed a bedroom in the Mar-a-Lago home that looked like Alice in Wonderland. And I'm like, whoa. And so they were like, well, were they slowly showing us back in the 90s? Remember that show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous? I do remember the show.
I mean, I think some of this stuff goes back to Egyptian times.
Oh, yeah.
So before I scroll past, did you see this picture of Trump? I guess it's on the way back after the speech.
Was that after the speech?
I'm guessing, just from looking at it.
Because he had one, there was one, well, he's got that red hat.
Just maybe an old picture.
I'm wondering if that might be an old picture and they put the hat in it. Because there was one where he was getting off the plane, and that was back during the saving the children and all the mess that they were getting into. But hey, the dude's got to be spent, Yep. At his age, and his stamina is freaking amazing. Him and Lee Dundas have the greatest stamina I've ever seen.
So I need to Google Lee Dundas, or not Google, but DuckDuckGo Lee Dundas, or FreeSpoke. What do I need to know about Lee Dundas?
Lee Dundas is a civil rights attorney, or a human rights attorney. And she has been in the child factory. She has seen what nobody should probably see.
Okay.
And when she goes in to fight for something, she is completely prepared with documents and references.
What are you, 12?
And absolutely no bullshit. None at all. One of the best speakers I've ever heard.
I'm checking out Lee Dundas.
Yeah, I just saw some pictures of her. Yeah, that's her.
It's so weird that I haven't really gotten to know Lee Dundas.
Oh man, let me tell you, she's the real deal. I've met her many times last summer, and I would fill her in. I said, Lee, whatever you're doing, getting the stuff straight with the school boards, I said it's spreading like wildfire. She's a great person. She also told the story of Robert David Steele and his last days. That you're not going to find on the internet, though.
You know, Robert David Steele was putting together like roundtables and things. Then all of a sudden, you know, he came to an end.
Yeah, he was going through a divorce.
Say again?
He was going through a divorce.
Yep.
And he got the COVID. He was in the hospital, and the divorce wasn't final. And I guess she kind of made sure that he was on the ventilator. He couldn't protect himself.
Yeesh, man.
Yeah. Hearing the story, I'm like, wow. Because, you know, he was a firecracker.
He had seen some things. You could tell that he had seen too much in a way. Like, he was kind of a little bit broken, but together, if that makes sense.
Right. That's very well put. That's very well put. And you know what? A lot of his solutions for helping problems that we have with humanity, like Africa, you know, Bill Gates, he's not going to send plumbing pipe and drill things to go to Africa and get them fresh water and stuff. He just wants to get them vaccinated.
Right.
And Robert David Steele was like, hey, you know what? They don't have to have a Ferrari engine. Get them something with a straight six with a single carburetor and a PTO, and they can make stuff happen very quickly. And it's the basics. You know, the basics never do you wrong.
Right. Did you see this guy?
No.
Let me play it. It's not too long.
Unfortunately, you are not the only person that misunderstood what I was saying. See, back in early 2013, I participated in an mRNA-based immunomodulatory medication trial. So yeah, a medical trial on an mRNA-based medication that was meant to alter how the T cells produced antibodies. And it worked phenomenally for not just lupus, but ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis as well. Here's the kicker. Out of that trial, there were over 200,000 participants. And every last one of us, including myself, had their hearts stop. There's less than 5 of us that are still alive today, but all of us experienced our hearts stopping at least once. According to my doctor, less than 5 of us are still alive. This medication was a series of injections that occurred over about a year, and the complications took 2 years to pop up. Cancer, heart attack, stroke, that kind of stuff. Myocarditis. So no, I didn't commit government-assisted suicide.
And then he has another one.
Tell me you've never been to college without actually saying you never went to college. Because the thing about a medical trial, or a medical experiment where they're using stage 3 human testing to see if a medication is actually efficacious, if it does not show what the pharmaceutical company wants it to show in that study, and that drug does not pass FDA testing, that's because it killed over 2% of the people that were in that trial. Typically what happens then is that pharmaceutical company goes out and it pays everybody that was part of the trial and experienced side effects, pays them by paying their medical bills, and gets them to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order to do so. So no, you're not going to find it anywhere. They destroy it. They bury the data because they don't want you to know that pharmaceutical companies kill more people than wars do in America. You can go ahead and look into that. Since 1920, doctors have killed over 200 million Americans. They've killed way more than wars ever have. Just FYI. And since you called me a liar, open heart surgery, lost my colon, 3 strokes.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's irresponsible. I just linked it. I didn't dig into that guy to see if he, but I mean, he's got the surgery scar right there on his chest. So there's a little bit of evidence to back him up there.
Well, that whole mRNA, whatever this shit is, I've never studied what it was. I was just like, I ain't doing it.
Right.
It's not approved. I'm pretty healthy, and I'm not doing that shit. I don't go to the doctor, and I don't need a 6-foot probe going up my nose.
Right.
But why would somebody volunteer to do that? Why would somebody volunteer to do an mRNA study?
Yeah.
I mean, I could, if you had MS or something like that, and it was something that was promising for that, I guess you have to have somebody to test it. Get that thing out. That thing's scary.
I have 2 brothers who are ER doctors, and it makes me a little kind of leery to just disparage all doctors, right? But
right.
They're ER doctors, and I think a lot of times you'll hear people say, Western medicine, when it comes to like emergency room stuff, that's kind of where it does okay. It's just all the other stuff where it's the, Rockefellers. It's basically the Rockefeller program.
The production line.
Yeah, they invented radiation, cutting things out, putting drugs in you, and radiating you.
I don't think they could really screw with the emergency rooms. You know what? I had a business I had after I was out of high school, and it was residential work, and I did work for these 2 doctors, and I'll never forget it. I'll never, ever, ever forget it. Did the work, getting paid, and they're out in their scrubs on their front porch, and we got talking, and they're like, yeah, we're both ER doctors, and our time span is like eight years before we're burnt out. And then they started asking me about my life, and I'm like, they said, well, you got kids? I said, yeah. I said, I got 2 beautiful boys, and I'll never forget it. I said, don't get too attached. And I thought, and I'm driving home after that, and I'm like, what the hell kind of statement is that? And even the workers in the truck, I'm kind of like, can you believe they said that? Why would they say that? And, and then putting two together is like, well, they're in the emergency room. Think of what they're witnessing.
Right.
And then to tell the story now, I lost both of those sons.
Right.
At different accidents. And it's like, I'll never forget. When they said that, it made me do a lot of searching. Like, I guess it was maybe one of my first times of using empathy, because, everybody thinks they have it tough. Can you imagine what it's like to be in that emergency room?
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, that's just oh, and when they said 8 years and they're burnt out, how long have they been in your family members have been in emergency room unit?
One of my brothers, it's been probably like 12, 13 years. But a couple years ago, he did get to move into a teaching role, but he still is in the hospital and does do shifts. But he at least gets to step away a little bit into a teaching role. And then the other one's been doing it for about a year, maybe 2.
Yeah, that's a brutal. Those guys are earning their money.
They are,
without a doubt. Just the trauma. You can't get. You know what? I asked a state trooper once. There was 2 state troopers. I think I was in a Chipotle, and I'm watching the troopers, and then when they got done, I flagged one of them, and I said, "Officer," I said, "I got a question." I said, "First of all, thanks for what you do. I can't imagine what it's like walking into what you walk into." I said, "But I got a question." I said, "Do you ever get used to fatals?" He's like, he says, no, not when they're young. Not when they're young. You never get used to that. So that wouldn't be any different from the emergency room.
That's right. That's right. One of the things I realized some years back, just kind of pondering, I'm pretty sure that let's say you go get a surgery, so you get completely put under, like appendicitis, let's say, or I knew a guy had a weird thing in his arm and they took it out. You don't remember your body being cut, but it still experiences that trauma. So the nerves get severed, the muscles, the fibers get cut, and you have to go through all that rebuilding. So I kind of feel like it's traumatic and it hurts for weeks after, and stuff like that. So your body still experiences it, even if you don't remember it. And what you're making me kind of realize is the person doing all the stitching and putting back together, they're playing with all that human meat. It's going to add up psychologically.
Yeah, I would think so. God bless them for what they're doing. I truly appreciate a good doctor. You know what? I appreciate a good nurse. I appreciate a good carpenter. I appreciate good in any profession. The ones that are slacking and just do whatever the hell they're told and don't question any ethics on it. I have that really has sent me into a level of pissed off. And I've known some people that are like that you think, oh, well, they're good in their profession. And then what happens is the proof's in the pudding. You find out.
Did you see this Robert Malone, World's Most Interesting Man?
That's a great one.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Well, you got to play it.
Okay, let's play the World's Most Interesting Man. Yeah, let's do it.
He is the life of parties he has never attended. If opportunity knocks and he's not home, opportunity waits. When in Rome, they do as he does. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always ruin things, but when I do, I prefer the Great Reset. Stay awake, my friends.
That's the shit that makes the deep state go frickin' nuts.
Yes, for sure.
Playing their own shit right back in their face. It isn't shit. That was a great production. It's on G. Ross. It's just good TV.
It's good TV. Robert Malone was starting to show up on Steve Bannon's War Room for a while. And when my work was kind of letting me put an earbud in, I was listening to a lot of his stuff. Work got a little busy, so I can't even really keep even the one earbud in, which is fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was catching a lot of that. And I don't know, I feel like he was out on the forefront, pushing the envelope a little bit in a more of a mainstream setting to point out the scams. And
hey, G.
Yeah.
You have 3 black screens.
Oh no, what did I do?
Maybe it was just during that commercial.
Okay,
it's all back.
I probably made some noob mistake. So do you know this old routine? This is about 45 seconds. I thought of you. You know it? Let's play it. Should we play it?
Yeah, yes. Was it Budweiser?
Well, this is the old R.J.
This week,
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
You doesn't have to call me Johnson. My name is Raymond J. Johnson Jr. Now, you can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or you can call me Johnny, or you can call me Sonny, or you can call me Johnny, or you can call me Ray J, or you can call me RJ, or you can call me RJJ, or you can call me RJJ Jr. But you don't have to call me Johnson.
Classic.
Yeah, that's an old bit.
And that had us chiming that for months.
It did. And honestly, I'm not sure I find it all that funny, but we ran the bit in the house. I remember my dad loved it, and we would all just say it all the time. Like, where's the beef?
Yeah, where's the beef? That was probably about that same time too.
Yeah, I think about that.
That's classic.
Pelosi's redacted eyebrows. Did you see this one?
Yes.
For anyone just listening, Trump colluded with Russia. That was Hillary. Oh, she's saying it. That was me. Trump kept kids in cages. Obama says, oh, that was me. Trump obstructed an active investigation. Oh, no, that was us. That's Schumer and Pelosi. Trump had a quid pro quo in Ukraine. Biden, that was me.
That's a classic.
Yep.
I always thought when Trump was first running for office and he was in Detroit and telling the people of Detroit, they come in here, they promise stuff to you, and then you don't see them for another 4 years, and they do nothing. I thought that was one of the best political moves I've ever seen in my life. Because nobody had ever done that before that I had ever noticed.
You immediately made me think of why I thought at the time that it might not work so well, and I was wrong. Which is, I had convinced myself that most people can't handle 2 sentences. That everything had to be one simple noun verb. And that's like a complex thought. Like, what has this guy done for you? You should vote for me. That's 2 thoughts, right? But you're right. It 100% worked for him. Because people aren't as stupid.
And you know what? People would think, well, that he was just talking to the black folks. No, he by him saying that there in Detroit, he was telling the whole world. This is how they operate. They come in for votes, promise you everything, and off they go, and you don't hear anything. And then you hear about how their wealth has increased by $10 million last year.
You know what I would do, Nancy Pelosi? I'd be on a boat.
On a fucking boat.
Call your guy.
What was
I
his?
like
Ken Richards. Ken Richards was one of the best videos ever.
We talked about Mike Tyson a little bit in the chats, back and forth. Anything to add about that? I just feel sad.
I think it's tragic. You know what? I see Bongino shrinking too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like being negative at all, but it's like, hey, it's like what I was talking about with these freaks that dress like men or men that dress like women to get some political office.
Oh, sorry. Let me mute that.
It's like, why do they do it? We never got, oh, there's the meat eater.
Yep. I thought I would do some Sloan motion here.
Yeah. He licks that meat.
See if I can figure out how to do some Sloan motion.
You know, it's like when you're talking to a kid and they're eating, you know, they're not listening to a damn thing that you're saying.
Right. I mean,
right?
He does this perfectly. And I feel like the more they yell at him, the better that tastes.
Oh, yeah. And look at the tongue. Nobody eats meat using that much tongue.
I don't think he planned it. I think that was like an ad lib he just thought of right on the spot.
Might have been. And flipping shit and then call him a little dick because he's eating a shish kebab. So obviously that means he's a little dick.
Right.
It's like, these people are out of their freaking minds.
They really are.
Same coffee shop, just getting all jacked up on espresso. And then, by God, we've got to go out there and we got to fix this shit now. That's the only thing I can figure out with them. Never see them too much.
No, and I think, weren't we talking about how, who was the one? Somebody in one of your chats, and you might have said it too, one of these Karen types, you could tell was just possessed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you do the Sloan motion on all of them, you'll see a little bit of devil coming out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And people think, oh, well, possessed? For God's sakes, yeah, that's possessed. When you're gonna jump down a fellow human being for something that he has he doesn't have a dime in the game about beef and how animals are treated in the processing plant, and you're gonna flip shit on him? Yeah, that's somebody's possessing that puppy, for lack of better phrases.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the minimum, she's possessed by like a bad idea or an incongruous set of ideas at the minimum. Yeah. And lately, I've been kind of modeling that, and I think this is oversimplified and probably not accurate, but it's amazing how well it just works in my mind, that demons are two-dimensional. They have less dimension than live humans. So they kind of have to take upon her mind to express themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because they can only do so much, right?
I think these days they're kind of restricted.
Well, they have access points to trigger their evilness, and then we also, being God-fearing people, we can use our tongue and lick that meat in front of their face to help stimulate their demons.
Right.
He was loving that shish kebab.
Oh man.
And G. Ross, you know better than any of us because you lived in New York City. Mm-hmm. You could probably tell everybody how great the food is.
Yeah.
People don't realize that about New York City until they go there. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh my God.
It is good.
I don't know if it's so good because you got to do so much walking and you get so much exercise, but yeah, that's great stuff.
I think that's part of it. Now, I have to say this. My wife and I both remarked, because we went from Texas to New York and then back.
Wow.
And it took us a couple years to get the iron stomach you need. We were getting a little more food poisoning than normal for the first couple years. I don't know if we were picking the places poorly or we just kind of had to get used to the local flora and fauna, but we eventually got pretty good at it. But then when we moved back, it's like, I think when you're that closed in and you're feeding that many people, you just, some of the hustle and bustle maybe takes some of the perfect countertop cleanliness a little more challenging.
Yeah. Well, my nephew, he got sick off of a hot dog. And I'm like, he really got sick. All the meals I ate in New York City, I never got sick. But I ate it. Well, there's one little place. Oh, what's the name of it? Arte. The restaurant is called Arte. And I'm not sure what part of town it's in. I never got real good with the different areas. But man, what a cool restaurant. It's like in the middle of a bunch of gray stones or brownstones. And then it's a little Italian restaurant nestled and they got the front windows open and you can see into the bar, and you had a server for salads, a server for whatever, and it was not an expensive place. It was there's Arte.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it on Google real quick.
Nice. Yeah, if you want a good Italian meal and just a nice relaxing evening, that's the place. Yep, there's that.
I've ever been to that one.
Yeah.
Let's pop down here. Get the street view. I'm gonna get homesick for New York if I do this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're just walking along a bunch of residents, and then there it is.
The song, when you're in New York for years, and you just realize how much life you're living, I was in my late 20s, 30s, and early 40s. That song from Frank Sinatra, you start to really kind of feel like if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. It's definitely got that feel to it.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about it. Just for my visits there, and I haven't been there in years, probably 10 years, but I would take my kids and nephews and we'd go there, and not a long vacation, like one of those weekend type vacations. Go in, hit the spots, and get out. But what an amazing city. What an absolutely amazing city. Now I got to get the kids and take them out west. Show them I got to take them up to Winchester's place. And they're getting a little old now. It's hard to round them up so easy.
I got to brag for a second. We haven't really taken Anderson up to New York for the last 3 years because we've been not wanting to deal with the hassle of fighting through all the weird pandemic stuff.
Right.
But he would go about once a year, starting about the age of 4 till 3 years ago. So he's probably been up there 3-4 times.
Well, I wouldn't want to go now. I have no desire to go there now.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. But, hearing that you're kind of the same way, you haven't went in that amount of time, that's reassuring to me, because I believe in helping a community that's trying to fix themselves, but New York City is trying to destroy itself from everything I've seen.
It seems, yeah. So, Your restaurant, I was trying to see how far from Little Italy that Arte is. It looks like it's a little northwest of Little Italy. So I kind of know that area. So it's near Greenwich Village, if I'm reading this right.
That was good, man.
I'm a little rusty on my New York.
We used to stay in Jersey City and then take the PATH train over and just run all the trains, subways.
Yep. So I lived. All right, here, let's do this real quick.
Jersey City's really getting big.
So here are the Triborough Bridge. I was like 27th Street and 24th Avenue or something like that. So I was right in here.
Nice.
And then after about 7 years there, yeah, right, that was our big park we would hang out. We moved over here. Where's Bloomfield? So I got to find the Lincoln Tunnel and the Garden State Parkway. So I think that's going to put it. Well, here, I'll just type in Bloomfield. So down over here. Is that Bloomfield? Yeah, that's right. So then we moved over there. So you said, which town did you go into?
As far as
when you would go in and take the PATH train?
Oh, we were in Jersey City.
Right, down over here. Yeah.
Yeah, we would stay in Jersey City, and because you had a nice view of the city.
Yep.
And you didn't have to go in and do all the parking stuff.
That's right.
So you stayed in Jersey City, and they were building hotels. They couldn't build the hotels quick enough. I bet you they're not building any now.
So to your point about them trying to destroy themselves, we've got family lives out here, Comac, halfway out on Long Island, right? So if this is pretty much Long Island, just right in the middle, Huntington kind of area, a little bit past that. They live out there. And they really had a tough time for the first year of the last 2.5 years. I don't know what it's like for them nowadays. We kind of need to catch up with them. But I don't think it was that easy.
Oh, it's got to be tough. Hey, they're going to jack the prices up on everything in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
They just want chaos.
Love that for me. Choose the frequency and ship it. I feel so.
They do. But so one of the things that Reasonable TV likes to ask, are you optimistic?
Completely optimistic.
Yep.
110%.
Me too.
110%. And my parents, they'll be upset and they'll be like, they'll come over just to make sure I'm still optimistic.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, don't worry. I said, you're watching a show. I said, and then you point out things like, I don't care who it is as president. They are not going to screw up everything. It's impossible. That's right. Just like, it's mathematically impossible, just like Q.
Right.
Because sooner or later, you're going to get something right.
All right, so let me tell you something that freaked me out a little. So you took a break a little earlier today. So you gave me a few minutes to go listen to one of my other favorite YouTubers, which is Linda Paris, or former YouTubers. And she was talking about how Russia's building all these buildings because they have a lot of homeless now. And she said, some people said the buildings looked kind of crappy, but I looked at them and I thought they looked kind of nice. And I found myself just sensing this sea change. Like, is Gassara Nasara coming? Is large government solution to big problems coming? Like, are we, America has this staunch, rugged individualism, capitalism thing, but we know we're watching a show. So we're very discerning. But I guess what I'm getting at is I found myself being 54 years old, kind of like, I hope Putin is building some nice buildings for those people, and governments are a gift from God, and maybe I am a little bit too independent-minded, and we do need to think about each other and big solutions. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it freaked me out a little to see that coming forth in my mind. Does that make any sense?
Well, Russia's got money. They're making good money now off of Europe, and they kicked out the central bank years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their national debt per person is, I think, $2,200 per person. That's their national debt. And ours is what? 80,000, 100,000 per person.
Yeah.
So Nassar is eventually going to happen. I to say when, I don't know, but I know that once debt in the United States reached 28 trillion, that's a point of no return. We don't have enough domestic product or anything to pay even the payments. So
right.
The way they
Where
spend
are we at?
money.
We're getting close to that, right?
Oh, we're past it. Dude, back in January, February, it went over 28,000 or 28 trillion. I think it was I think it was February. It went over 28 trillion. And I think it's probably 32 trillion now.
Yeah, that's what it shows on this chart on Wiki.
So how far it can go? It'll go as long as we have faith in the money, which I'm a big supporter of people buying silver.
Yep.
And kind of like what Winchester says, buy that junk silver. It might come in handy for bartering or purchasing things in the future. Well, whether it happens or not, who cares? You're just transferring this dollar to this silver. And the silver is worth much more and feels better.
You literally can't lose on that bet.
And silver is mentioned in the Bible much more than gold.
I heard you mention that the other day. That's pretty cool. Unchained says he used to stay in North Bergen and take a cab to the train. That's awesome.
Yeah. Take a cab to the train.
When we moved back to Texas, I told my wife, I'm going to die inside just a little bit. Just a little bit. Nothing wrong with Texas. It's got so much right. But once you've done New York for 15 years as a young adult and you semi-half retire back to your home stomping grounds, you're not going back. I don't think. Yeah. You never know, but I was shifting down to third
gear. You're not ever going to lose those memories of all those great moments.
No, that's true.
Okay, here, G. Ross. This is a question I ask anybody that's lived in New York City. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in New York City?
Okay, I did one time see a rat whose body was at least that big and plump and round, running to hide. Bigger than a football, way bigger, almost basketball size, but not quite that fat, and a big old tail. One time I got on the subway and I see a little pile of puke and it's got somebody's false teeth in it that had like fallen to the ground and cracked. I saw like a 4-year-old sitting on the sidewalk with his legs facing slightly uphill, just peeing. And I thought that was a little awkward for that poor kid.
Wow.
I mean, it was just some tourist, I think. Just their mom was just like totally, I don't know. I'm sure there's more.
I had a buddy. He was a taxi driver, and I was like, "Hey, what's the craziest thing you seen when you lived in New York City?"
Yeah,
and it was like split second. It's like it's a hot August day. I'm in my taxi. The windows are down, And down through the middle of the road comes a man in a wedding dress on roller skates.
That's awesome.
Like, and it was like, when you ask people that, you get the instant, I remember this, and this. But yeah, it's a great city. I mean, it's just the government's messed up.
Yeah. So Larry came to visit us, college buddy. He stayed for months with us because we had the space. He was working on a project, and it was kind of fun. One day, Larry marches to a drummer that only Larry hears, which is great. I love it.
Yeah.
But he's walking across the Triborough Bridge, which has a walk or a pedestrian little pedestrian sidewalk, fenced in thing on the side. And he loved to experience hanging out over heights. I've known him for years. He's consistently always liked to hang from light poles or whatever. So he's over the East River, and he's like, I need to hop over and hang from this railing. So he kept his feet on the ground, on the sidewalk, but on the other side, and just kind of hung out over it. And he enjoyed that for a minute and didn't think much of it, hopped back in and continued walking. Then he noticed some police boats were coming up the river, and he thought, oh, that's interesting. Some helicopters were starting to come towards, and then some cop cars were like working their way through the crowd, and then he realized that may be because of me. So I didn't see this. This is what he told us when he got back. And he finally, the cop car gets up to him, and there's not a lot of pedestrians, so they're interviewing everybody, all just a couple few of them. And they get to him, they're like, hey, we heard there was a jumper. Did you see anything? He's like, no, I didn't see any jumpers. That's an honest statement because he was not going to jump.
Right.
So he gets back, and I'm like, Larry, you just cost me probably like $20,000 with that one cop call, because it had helicopters, boats, who knows how much that cost to scramble all that. So that was Larry in New York. He did another funny
thing. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. He did another funny thing. He had a plastic grocery bag full of a box of Tide, and he was wearing like sweatpants and a leather jacket. And he needed to make it to a certain place, and he was like, I'll just cut right through Central Park. It's dark, but who cares?
Oh.
So he's cutting through, and he said there was people that would kind of come alongside and shadow him, and then left. And then this would happen a few times. And he started to kind of, and he also trains a lot in fighting, so he wasn't too worried, but he was like, man, maybe I need to be ready. So he was telling, I was just like, that's a weird story. I'm surprised you didn't get jumped. But he told one of my friends that grew up in Brooklyn, and the guy's like, wait, no, hold on. How were you dressed? He's like, sweatpants, tennis shoes, and a leather jacket. He's like, what were you carrying? A plastic grocery bag with just one big box of Tide. He's like, they thought you were an undercover cop. They didn't want to mess with you.
Really?
That's what his assessment was. He's like, yeah, they would have mugged you totally and possibly killed you, except for, because Central Park, you know, even back in the Giuliani days, you just somehow know you do not go in there after dark. It's just
yeah.
He did it.
One of the best times I had in Central Park was we had a big snowstorm that came in. We would always go like in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we got a snowstorm, and it's like, I'm not leaving till snow's cleared up and we can, but the kids got to go, and you know how you have those rounded bridges in Central Park? There was enough snow on them, and the kids were sliding on their shoes. And it was beautiful. Man, was it beautiful. And that's kind of a rarity, I think, for tourists to be able to catch a good snowstorm in New York City and experience it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because it's maybe once every year or two that you get one of those really pretty, picturesque Central Park ones.
Yeah.
And yeah, Central Park in the winter is a wonderful place. even when it's not a wonderful snowstorm.
I liked how the garbage trucks turned into snowplows.
Yeah.
Like,
they know how
that's
to move snow. I have to say, Central Park any time of year is really cool. Sure.
Fascinating. Gee, Ross, I got to go check my TV things.
Yeah, let's do it. This has been a very good long after hours.
Totally enjoyed it.
I'll start up the... Here, let me start the...
We need to do this again.
I agree.
Have a Funklosophy topic. Or a call-in show.
We can do that. I will take a note of that. Do you hear that background music?
Oh, yeah.
That's the kick you out music. It kicks me out too.
Okay.
I got that from Better Lately. He has a volume come in and it ends the show. It removes all the, I don't know exactly when to, so that's why I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're down to seconds, you can just bail on out and I'll do like some kind of verbal outro, or you can stay and participate, either one.
You take care of it. I'm going to get out of here. I got to check on the animals.
All right, brother commander.
Thank you so much, G. Ross. Tell everybody I said hey.
Will do.
Thank you.
Peace out. That was Commander Sloan from SloanTV, giving us one of our most recent interviews. We haven't done a ton of those lately. And what an honor, what a privilege. And you've all been amazing. Oh, let me release the scratching. Let me release Le Scratchna. Le Scratchna. Here we go. Releasing Le Scratchna. It has been released. We'll be back here on Wednesday for Bible study going off the rails, as mentioned by SloanTV. And then we'll be back here Friday with the news roundup, and then back here Sunday. I'm going to take a note to do a call-in show or a Funklosophy topic. Now I'll switch us to the real outro. Will someone scratch the scratch off? I'll do it so you can see it can be done. I'll do it. I'm not afraid. See? You too can win. Scratch. Scratch. Scratch, I dare you. When I see someone scratch, I'll go over to Sloan Chat and hang out there. But not until I see someone scratch. Do it. It's so late, you're all so tired. There's lurkers in here, I know there are. Scratch, you lurkers. Scratch. Scratch. Let's turn back on the camera. Look at that. Anybody scratched here? Do it. I'm just gonna sit here. Somebody's got to win. Somebody besides me has got to win. Alright, I'll scratch again. Oh, it won't let me. There we go. go. Thank you, Commander, for scratching. All right, now I'll get out of here.
Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 90 Nation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.